is the history of the Tottenham. Yo people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another video. Now listen, it seems Antonio gone. Antony finito. I am so happy to announce that Antonio Conte has redeemed himself somewhat in similar small percentages of some sort of Chelsea respect again. Because listen, the way our relationship ended poorly, you know, the war of words that we had. There was Costa, a kid on the line. There was, you know, heated words being exchanged. You tried to even file a lawsuit. It was a lot. It was a lot. But after you've gone to one of my bitter rivals, you've taken the mic like Obama and dropped it on their crest, on their chest, made them feel emphatically shit, make them understand that the cotton in their thread, in their shirt is simply not cut out for the winning, cut out for the trophies, cut out for the lifestyle. They're not able to conduct themselves in this area of expertise, which is winning. This is not what Tottenham do. And the fact that you publicly came out and shit on that club historically, I do take pleasure and pride in such. But I'm here to break this down for real because it's an interesting situation. Obviously, there's going to be a trigger. There's going to be some sort of, you know, ricochet effect, some sort of snowball in terms of will Nagelsmann go there. But let's talk about Conte, who's been, you know, who's left by mutual consent. And it seems like Stellini's going to take over for the rest of the season with Ryan Mason as an assistant. Conte. If I'm going to keep it 100 buckaroonies, this guy he stepped into the poison chalice. You knew what it was when you went to Tottenham. Now, everybody's got to take responsibility here, and including you, because when you look at this situation, I feel like Tottenham have almost copied our homework, but they've got the correct answer, right? Because we also won a trophy with Conte. So they tried to copy us with Mourinho, with Conte, with Villas-Boas, but we had working out marks. You know, this is a maths paper. You're doing higher. This ain't ordinary. If you would like to pass, you've got to give us working out. You have to show us how you got there. But they skipped all of that. They didn't show any working out marks. They just got the manager and they thought everything was just going to click into place. They thought they were going to win trophies immediately. You saw Toby flinging his shirt up in the air, and it was so half-assed. It was so half-assed from a recruitment standpoint. First of all, let's start with this. Let's talk about where this all began. This all began with a hiring of Nuno when they were linked with Conte in that same summer with Perisic. And then Perisic comes in, Nuno comes in, and then they realize Nuno is not good enough. They sack Nuno and bring in Conte a few months later after the summer window is closed. That summer window where they signed Romero, they signed Emerson Royale, they signed all of these players that probably would not have been authorized by Conte in terms of Brian Gill, etc. I think Sarr even came in then. It's a weird window where quite a lot of money was spent, but not on any instant success players. A lot of, you know, young players that needed time to you know, improve and need milk and, you know, you know what I mean? Little horses. And Conte doesn't deal with little horses. He only deals with massive horses. Yeah. Horses that are at the front of the grid, front row seats. He doesn't deal with any little horses. He doesn't deal with young talent, player improvement. He's not interested in that. He wants to win now. And if you don't create that culture in that environment, it gets very toxic very quickly. Now, he comes in, obviously, January window comes in Bentancur and Kulusevski. But I remember one game in particular away from home to Burnley. And this guy started publicly cussing and, you know, mashing up the club. And I'm like, you're representing them. This is unprofessional, but this is what happens with Conte. And I said it when he came in. You have to snag and steal a trophy with this man. Otherwise, there is nothing to take away from his tenure. There is no improvement. There is no progression. There is no satisfaction. There is nothing but regret and shame and embarrassment. Feels like a night out, doesn't it? This is exactly what this man has brought to that club now, because they haven't progressed from when they brought him in. They haven't stepped forward. They've been making top four prior and potentially after his tenure. You know, that they have that top four is not an achievement. It's why we're seeing Tottenham fans this season, regardless of being fourth, they don't care because there's no relevance to them. Get fourth, so what? What does that lead to? What does that, what comes from that? Nothing. There's nothing. There's no seed being planted in the ground here. There's no tree or flower that will grow from top four, because we know Tottenham. They go into the top four, they embarrass themselves, they come back out, they go back in. I could make analogies here that I don't want to make, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is sick and twisted. Now, in terms of Conte and Tottenham, Daniel Levy, like I said, his recruitment was very, iffy. It was a situation where some young players, some players are ready for now in terms of the Perisic's, and it was never, fully buying into the Conte model, which is sometimes buying players that are over 30 with no resale value, with no market value. Sometimes you need an Ashley Young and a Kolarov. Sometimes he just wants to have those ready-made soldiers that are willing to run through the trenches for him to go and snag that cup. I don't think Tottenham were ever capable of winning a league title, but to come out of this with exits to Middlesbrough, to Sheffield United in FA Cups and opportunities to win some sort of, domestic cup since 2008, to come out of this with nothing is embarrassing. Now, that's from a recruitment standpoint. Now, when you look at Conte himself, this guy has almost in the last couple of months just been on the beach. He has been self-sabotaging. Now, I know he was ill. I get it. But even in terms of the tactical decisions that were being made in and without his absence, it made no sense. Sometimes attackers weren't coming on in a game against AC Milan where they need goals. Sometimes we were looking at games against Sheffield United, you're resting players when you need to win a trophy. That's all that you can save from this season and this tenure. And we knew that this guy was leaving for months before he was sacked. And we knew he was leaving at the end of the season regardless, because it was clear. There was no commitment. And I always ask, if you're leading from the front, you're leading from the top, and you don't show commitment. Think about it in any walk of life. If you manage a group of people, if you're at work, in any sort of establishment, if your future is up in the air and is not settled and is not secure, how do you expect your employees, the people under you, to be secure, to be settled, to be driven, motivated, and be taking leadership from someone who doesn't even know if they're going to be there or not? Most likely not. And as we see today, gone. It just doesn't make sense. So of course there was going to be a capitulation from an already fragile, mentally fragile team that already was falling at the last hurdle, was not delivering in finals or semi-finals, not getting over the line. There was already mentally fragile. So to have a then fragile manager on top of that, who was not going to commit and was not going to stay the course and didn't understand maybe the finances that were available to him in terms of, you've come to Daniel Levy, tight jeans Levy tight jeans, and what did you expect? Understand what you're walking into. And it's like managers and players, I say it, they have financial agents to help their pay packages, but they don't have football agents. Does that system suit your style as a player? Does that club's finances or that club's regime or their mentality in terms of the market, does that suit your management style? Managers and players need football agents that will guide them to the right path. Now, I don't think Conte cares. He collected his bag and he moves on. And I love it for him. I'm not going to lie in terms of my disdain for Tottenham. But the whole thing is a shambles. It's an absolute shambles. Tottenham will need to go back to some sort of, project management type style where they bring through young players, improve their market value, maybe sell them for a massive profit. That would make more sense. That's the model that Pochettino brought and was most successful for them. I say success, they won nothing. But Conte, has his stock fallen after this? I think it has, in terms of the modern day approach to football and now what people want in terms of longevity at top clubs and stability for young players. This guy and the style of football. I mean, Jesus, if we talk about the style of football for 2 seconds, Tottenham were playing some awful stuff towards the back end of this tenure. They weren't actually that bad last season. They were scoring goals. They were a threat. This season, they have Kane on his last legs, on his last limbs, trying to outscore his XG constantly. Son has fallen off a cliff. Richarlison has no Premier League goals. Kulusevski hasn't been the same since the injury. And that is not even adding on top the defense. The defense has been shambolic, catastrophic. The defense is so leaky for a Conte team to have 5 at the back plus 2 protectors in front and to be leaking goals. If this was a certain Tommy T, they would be hanging him out to dry. It feels like, from my perspective, that yes, I understand that Tottenham have not fully maybe bought into the Conte way, but it feels like Conte's got away with a lot. I don't feel like most managers would get away with some of the things he's got away with. Maybe top 4 is what is keeping his stock so high, but exiting to AC Milan and Sheffield United in cup competition with some of the players that you do have, I'm not saying the defense from an individual standpoint is any good, but the forward line, You know, Pedro Porro comes in, Jed Spence was there. With some of the quality that they do have, I just feel like he's got a bit of an easy ride here. Maybe because no one cares about Tottenham. That could equally make just as much sense. What will happen with this man now? I think he'll go to Serie A. What will happen with Tottenham now, where we can see that Nagelsmann is available? Apparently, he may even have small connections or, some sort of like for Tottenham. I don't know what it is with these German coaches and like in Tottenham. Get your heads screwed on. Something wrong with you, clearly. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But this is probably bad news for anybody who was challenging for top four, because in my opinion, Tottenham have been on a downward trajectory all season. And now that they've actually made some sort of change, which should have been made months ago, to be honest, they actually might have some sort of kickback revival. So if you're in that top four race, good luck to you, because you might actually face a force in Tottenham now for that last spot. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Has Conte's, I guess, stock and, reputation with us as Chelsea fans, has that risen from his disgusting performance at Tottenham? Or do you still dislike the guy? I'm sure it will be somewhere in the middle. Do you know what I mean? You take what you can and you leave something else at the door. But big up your damn selves. Make sure you subscribe, smash up the likes, and I'll see you guys full time from Tuesday night onwards. Battle of the North will be back. I'll be back in the UK. And I'll get back into the run of things with watch-alongs, etc. Taking a little bit of a break for the internationals, and I'm just trying to mellow out. But these sackings, these manager flips and dips, I can't keep up. In a bit, people. Peace. Perfect.